Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to more Streets of Rage action. It's the baseball, and look at that, you can see the theme park in the background. Ah, continuity. But anyway, it's just more beat-em-up fun as we go from a baseball stadium to an underground wrestling ring. Yes, indeed, it is, WrestleMania, brother. And, well, I mean, I say that in jest, but I mean, we do fight the Ultimate Warrior again, so, yeah, we got a few returning bosses this time around. By which I mean only one, because we finally get a name for the Ultimate Warrior wrestler dude who was basically... You might think I'm doing a Looney Tunes thing, but no, that's what the guy's name is. The baseball! Can tell this was made in Japan? Oh well, I'm gonna have to find something else to talk about in my lengthy rambles, or I could just say fuck it and not talk about anything at all. Just more people sitting on park benches. Don't really know why Blaze is even really fighting them, or why they're bothering to fight Blaze. Seemed like they'd be a bit more comfortable on the benches outside of her dimensions. I sense people outside, and that makes me nervous when commentating. Makes me feel very self-conscious. Whatever. There we go. I don't know, like, I don't know if anybody else usually gets that way, but I mean, it's a habit I don't think I've broken out of since I'm a teenager, where I feel very self-conscious when I'm commentating, either by outside elements, because I feel like people might peer inside my window and wonder why this bizarre man is talking to himself, or people will burst in and ruin my mojo, like the nobodies of the world. I don't know, it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, you might remember, like, in the very early videos I made that I used to be incredibly quiet. Yeah, well, I still kinda get that way sometimes because I'm scared. And I don't want people to look at me. Anything else to really say? I like the environment design. Again, like, I mean, it's a good use of gradient colors, nice, like, art references and environment design for Japan and baseball. I suppose I could possibly also talk about the correlation between that, but it's, really pretty much has everything to do with the American occupation of Japan. And, yeah, since they brought along a bit of their culture, Japan kind of, well, took it to heart. And again, like, I mean, if you don't know your Japanese history, they really grew to love fucking baseball, but, which is kind of surprising, but at the same time, it's like, man, they really went all in on the whole thing, so, yeah, it's kind of weird how one culture informs another, so to speak. I mean, despite the fact that it kind of came out of a terrible time with the war and everything. It's quite bizarre. Kind of curious if we're ever going to see anything like that again, assuming if current world events get any worse, which they most likely will. By the way, I accidentally left my finger on the... Again, if you couldn't tell that I was playing on a sort of emulator kind of thing. I can't remember what the version was, the game was called. It was like the Mega Drive collection thing that came out in 2018. But yeah, like with a lot of emulators, it came with a speed up and reverse feature, so yeah, in keeping with its 90s-esque quality, yeah, it also comes with an emulation speed up and reverse feature. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't playing this on a bloody VHS tape or whatever. People would have used to record stuff, like, way back in the days before Dazzle or any other sort of video recorders would have been a thing. That's right, Blaze, keep on hitting. Oh no! It's... What does that say? Susie Q? Queashed. Whatever. Kinda surprised nobody's here or nobody's really bothering to stop anybody. I mean, it's always been kinda curious, actually. Like, I mean, in a lot of beat-em-up games, you know, from either, like, the very science fiction-y to, I guess, the very normal, like, there's no normal people walking the streets. I mean, I can see why with, you know, crime rates going up and Mr. X and all that shit, but, like, I mean, at the same time, you would have thought there would have been, like, a match on. Or is this like post-season baseball? I'm not really too sure about baseball in general, nor even Japanese baseball, even less, so... Who knows? Oh dear. By the way, this isn't meant to be the same sort of like fat fuck enemies from the first game. These are... I don't know, Big Ben? Shouldn't he be in London with the clock tower? Whatever, like, they're a lot easier to deal with in this one than they were in the previous game, because they had that impenetrable fire attack from their guts. Whereas now, pretty much all you gotta do is just kick them and well, pretty much just play a game of patty cake, really. Patty cake, whoop! Yeah, but I mainly recommend just a double jump attack, or double jump. Mainly just recommend like a basic jump kick, because I mean, doing anything more than that is pretty much liable to get you hurt. Oh, then again, I suppose maybe getting in close might do a bit more damage. Huh. Oh yeah, that's right, they also don't do the thing. Maybe that was just my Streets of Rage 1 instincts taking over, but... yeah, like, I mean, you don't have that sort of thing where, again, if you try and body slam them, I don't know, they don't full on blaze and crush her with their fattiness. Huh. It seems like this was a secret front for an elevatrix. And of course, like any beat-em-up game, it's a secret level where you gotta beat the shit out of people. Where are we going? Ah, yes, distinctive grunts and screams. No doubt added to the game's very punchy sound design. Whee! What the fuck is this weird UFO sound going on right here? Is this to do with the game? I don't remember the soundtrack being this bizarre in this area. Well, then again, it actually has been a while since I recorded the game, because I recorded it a while back, and now I'm audio commentating ages later. Did I notice it then? Probably not, I mean, had a few drinks. I think I was recording this as well, so yeah, my memory's a bit shoddy. Oh well, what better time to drink than when you're at the baseball? I'm sorry, I have to beat you up. I don't know, it's just like a really efficient strategy, it's just limber and, excellent. Come on. Oh, I thought I said Mr. T for a second. Oh dear. And now comes the point as to why I don't commentate on a lot of beat-em-up games, because again, like for me, for as action-intense as it is, you find yourself not really having much else to say apart from where you currently are and, well, yeah, just screaming internally as you think about what to say to make your audience engaged. Yeah, but again, like, I mean, I will say I have no idea what to call these enemies, I'll just call them the Kung Fu guys. Yeah, they're pretty much the equivalent of the jump kickers from, the first game, except they don't wear the, little Chinese gis anymore. So, that kinda sucks. But anyway, now for the underground wrestling bout, which I guess explains where everybody else is, even though it looks like some guys are beating off in the crowd. Probably shouldn't be thinking about that too much, but oh my god, it's the Ultimate Warrior. Shove that control into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan, with a missile and the rocket fuel loaded with the worst, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I will say that he's a lot easier to deal with here now that you have more attacks, but again, similar sort of strategies apply. Basically, again, he'll try and move on his plane of axes, and you pretty much got to get to that exact place, but make sure that he doesn't body slam you, otherwise you will be fudged. There is actually another boss fight with him, which looks like he has a severe sunburn, so yeah, that's kind of bizarre. Yeah, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. It's like that's all, folks. I mean, it does also kind of say a little something about Wood Oak City in the sense that, yeah, everybody's here watching underground fights where people beat the fuck out of each other, so curious about the people's inhabitants. A corrupt city and a corrupt government. Is there any cure for the people of this town? Blaze will have to find an answer, and the only way to do that is to beat up but stage fall clear, and that's all, folks. Whatever. Whoa-ho! More points. Again, maybe it's just because I wasn't really born in that generation, but I really struggle to think about, you know, the sort of schoolyard camaraderie going like, oh yeah, well I got like 4,000 points in Streets of Rage. I'm like the ultimate player master. Or any of that sort of thing. I mean, again, I'm sure it probably would have been more of a bragging thing for arcades or whatever, but I don't know, like, was that really like a rite of passage, even if like a more nerdier one for kids back in the day? I don't know, I mean, I just kind of struggled to see it as anything other than, I don't know, childish beer muscles. Anyway, we come to the freighter level. Kinda boring to be perfectly honest, though it does contain a few visual effects by the time we get outside, and is host to a particularly annoying boss fight. No, not with Big Ben or... what's his name? The Armpit? The Apt? Anyway, this is gonna be a bit of a snoozer, so yeah, talking about the boss fight at the end. Yeah, kinda bullshit, has a lot of frustrating attacks and barely any chance for you to hit him. It's a pain in the ass and I think it sucks. There we go, that is my talking point for the game. Give me money and Patreon and whatever fucking traction video essay shit gets these days. Whatevers. Well, I mean, speaking of which, actually, I don't think Streets of Rage 2 really requires that heavy an analysis. You beat people up, there's some good bells and whistles here and there, and improvements to the formula, that's about that. But what is the game saying to me? Streets of Rage 2 a commentary on poverty lines and the economic structure having a downfall effect on the spirit of the human soul and psyche, and how we have to fight against all odds and other people to sustain our livelihoods? I have no idea what the fuck I'm even saying anymore. But that's what happens in today's world of postmodernism, because it's Po-Mo! Anyway, it's also around this point where enemies begin to get a little bit tougher, but again, in terms of being a difficulty spike, it's natural. It's a natural curve, not spiking so much as it is a natural upturn. There we go. Ryozuko, whatever your name is. There we go, yes! Should have used the speed up feature here, but I didn't. Garcia. I believe his name is actually meant to be Garcia, but like Japanese Englishy translation, so yeah, it's Garcia for some reason. I think Streets of Rage 3 fixes that, but weird. Anyway, now we have sporty Raven dudes, named after birds with each of his enemy types. We have Raven and Falcon? Paula? Raven? Excuse me. Anyway, this is pretty much just kind of a snoozer until we get to the top of the deck. And then the game will truly liven up. Yeah, I mean, even though I am very kind of liberal and loosey-goosey with my special attacks, I would recommend you save them for when you need them most. I mean, I'm not a very skilled player, so that's why I'm using them, but yeah, be careful. And also, again, when you have a smidgen of health, Blaze won't use it at all because, well, I guess maybe she doesn't have the concentration or energy for it. So, yeah, that's also something to keep in mind. You know, along with the fact that you could very easily die from a punch. I suppose one of the contributing factors to why I don't really like this level that much is that, again, it just kind of pads out a lot of its content. I mean, we have the return of, you know, Jetpack Man's son, so that's kind of balls. Again, the fact that he's hard to hit to begin with, combined with his health bar, just makes it a very big pain in the ass, to be perfectly honest. Although, I mean, it is kind of offset by the visuals being absolutely fucking stunning. I mean, again, it is basic parallax scrolling, but again, with the motion of the ship and, you know, the night sky, it gives you something very beautiful to look at, and at the same time, though, it also keeps everything that it needs to keep in focus, and again, it maintains a pretty decent visual effects. Simple, but effective. And also, as you can also see on the skyline, yeah, it's concordantly dusk. The sun is about to rise. I don't know, like, I mean, it makes Streets of Rage 2 a very legitimate odyssey from one place to another, from the dead of night to the beginning of the early wee sun in the morning. Anyway, it's also here where we have to deal with more of these motorcycle chaps just fucking around, occasionally throwing bombs at us and having to deal with ninjas and fucking whatever else. Which again does kind of contribute to the whole everything in the kitchen sink design with this level, which makes it a little bit pish. Wait a minute, was that... Oh, was that one of the samples they used in Sonic CD? Yeah, I thought it was only a Hideki Nobun... No, it wasn't Nobunaga. Hideki fucking someone, Sonic Rush man, who did the whole sample thing. Something, turn it, hit it, get down. Da-da-da-da-da-dun. Come on. Hurry the fuck up. Also, what the hell's the deal with fucking Spider-Man over there? Yeah, the bombs tend to be a little bit more useful if you can get some ninjas on there, but otherwise it's just kind of a bit pish. Come on. We got more important things to do, like rescuing Adam Hunter, who I'm surprised... I'm curious, actually, how did he get kidnapped? I guess maybe they took him by surprise, but I mean, even still, he was a trained police officer, and, would he have been living at home? I mean, I can't imagine he would have been after the whole Mr. X thing went down, or... I don't know, maybe he paid somebody to do it? Because, I mean, Mr. X does have a henchman that we'll be seeing, like, right as the preliminary boss fight, so maybe he was the one who did it? I guess maybe if the game was a bit more story-driven, we would have had, like, some sort of, like, rivalry thing going on, or, like, a sort of, like, the dragon kind of thing to the boss. Yeah, whatever. I suppose it would have paid to have Streets of Rage maybe expand its mythology a little bit more, but not that it really needs it, but at the same time I think it would have helped a lot, and at the very least in terms of not just, you know, adding more, you know, actionized elements into the plot, but I suppose in turn also giving a lot more reasons as to why the plot happens the way that it did. Because, like, I mean, in terms of, like, a story content, I mean, I suppose I'll probably talk about it after the annoying as hell boss fight that we'll be dealing with after this. But yeah, in terms of what the manual makes the plot out to be, it's a lot more intense than you might think. Come on. There you go. Finally. Now to the annoying boss fight. It doesn't matter how much health you have or how many lives. This is our bear. Russian bear. I have no idea what the fuck this guy's deal is, but... yeah, he's a boxer and his attacks are lethal, fast, and powerful. He's a pain in the ass to defeat, and quite frankly, it's a fucking roadblock on harder difficulties. Seriously, like, look at how much fucking damage this guy did. It's fucking annoying as shit. I mean, if there was ever a lives drainer in this game, this guy would be it, which, I mean, in Streets of Rage 1, the only enemies that really accounted for that would have been, like, the Freddy Krueger guys, if only because of the fact that they had their slash attack, but this guy is even worse, because, again, you can barely get a fucking hit in with his fucking cannonball attack and his swift punches. And wouldn't you know it, that the game would like to reuse him right at the end. Because fuck you! Ugh, come on, get your shine on and fuck off and die already. You're draining the shit out of my lives and it's pissing me off. And it also does the Streets of Rage 1 thing where they introduce a Garcia to get in your way. Fucking hell, finally. Go back to Russia with you and your gazpacho soup. I hope you die of a cadmium-2 radiation blast. Oh, even Maven. And now on to broader scenarios. Oh, how I wish we could have seen some beach babes on this environment, but alas, no, all we get now is ninjas, who are least likely to be seen at a beach because they wouldn't blend in the slightest, and actually, can ninjas swim? I mean, I'd imagine they probably would in Japan because, you know, it's a tiny ocean prison, surrounded by water. Yes, you can't see it, but on the other side of this beach, Sora is currently fighting Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Oh ho, oh ho, oh way, oh way, oh way, oh. I gotta say though, like, I mean, the discrepancy between, Streets of Rage 1 and 2 in terms of its, visual effects for, you know, some of the graphical stuff like the water washing up on the waves and, you know, the little sunrise graphic. It's, I mean, I wouldn't really say it's night and day, but, like, I mean, the way they've improved a lot of the graphical effects is honestly quite stunning. Seriously, it's, Streets of Rage is an incredibly beautiful looking Mega Drive game and uses a lot of the system's capabilities to produce some really beautiful looking scenery. A little bit less so when they have this fucking Speedy Gonzales ninja guy fucking giving it all this. Pip damage, pip damage, pip damage, pip 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 pip. Okay, off we go. Yeah, if you couldn't tell at this point, this isn't a public beach, we're actually at Mr. X's stronghold, which I guess wasn't on an island somewhere? Or maybe just off the coast of, Wood Oak City? I mean, if the well, obviously, I guess maybe the police have been bought off. Yeah, nobody really bothered. Oh my god, look at that environment design. I really love it when, like, a lot of 2D games really go for this sort of, like, more fleshed out art design. Like, I mean, where they make a lot of these environments look like real places as opposed to, like, abstract labyrinths. I don't know, it really adds a lot of dimension to the world, and it just makes the scenery look fucking beautiful. Like, seriously, that looks like a complete beachscape that you could explore, and it's just... mwah! Bellissimo! A little bit less so as we get into this fucking Metal Gear 1-esque NES jungle thing. Yeah, it has kind of a military base kind of vibe to it, which I suppose Mr. X either bought out, took over, or, I don't know, executed people, because his name is Mr. X, for Mr. Executioner, or it could be Mr. Xander, Mr. Xavier, Mr. Extreme, Mr. Triple X, Vin Diesel. No, that was surprising. I am curious, so, like, I mean, it does make me wonder if they would have maybe had more specific enemies for specific places, because why the Signal Gang are there, I have no idea. Why the Kung Fu and the Ninja guys are there just seems a little bit bizarre as well. But again, it's pretty much just wacky beat-em-up logic, so who am I to complain? Well, I'm an asshole, so I am gonna complain. I mean, I don't know who I would have had there instead, like maybe military personnel, although that would have involved bringing guns, and that would have been a pain in the ass. I mean, I suppose maybe security guards with batons or something, but that could have been a thing. I mean, Streets of Rage 3 actually does bring in gun-toting enemies with, like, black suits, so, like, who knows? Maybe they could have been there? Or everywhere? Or maybe we could have had fucking Chumbawamba over here, giving it all this with his belly flops and his American pizza-eating... whatever. By the way, he has some incredible leg strength for, a fat fuck. Like, I mean, he's... like, he'd do fucking well at pole vaulting or the high jump. Come on. May you please hurry your buttocks up? We've got things to do. Come on. There we go. Nope, still got a bit left. Yes, indeed, this Chumbawamba, when he gets knocked down, won't be getting up again. Something, whatever else. Oh dear. More motorcycles, and dear god, they... like, again, they're not even that fucking threatening, it's just irritating to see them fuck around and just drop bombs and then just like, oh no, don't worry, you're dead. And even when you knock them down, you can still get caught in the explosion residue of their motorcycles, so again, it's just... fucking irritating, really. I mean, we once again do see the return of the prostitute temptresses with the whips. That also have a few additional attacks, like I think some are just more spike-based, others have like electrical abilities, so... yeah, it's fun in the sun. Not really too sure where they got all this stuff, but maybe Mr. X is supplying them. Which, I mean, I suppose will be incentive enough to work for him, slash him being at the top of the criminal food chain? But yeah, to kind of talk about Mr. X himself, actually, that does actually kind of bring to mind a certain, fact about himself. Are we even fighting the real Mr. X? Because we gave him one hell of a beating last time, so, yeah, maybe with a lot of the more science fiction-y aspects, he might have undergone a bit of an E-SWAT operation, if you catch my drift. Because, I mean, yeah, to kind of reiterate a bit of commentary from the first one, fucking hell, what's this bastard again? Streets of Rage was initially going to be a spin-off of the E-SWAT franchise. Pretty much, less, you know, dealing with more of the sci-fi antics that, you know, E-SWAT provided, but more of the, well, down-to-earth, dealing with the street gangs kind of thing. And I mean, I think they did actually take the police car model from the first game from E-SWAT, so... who knows, maybe Streets of Rage does technically take place in the E-SWAT universe? Still, kind of? I don't know, I think it'd be nice to have a little bit of franchise crossover with that. But anyway, now we have South, though, pretty much the same fucking Zabuza ripoff that he was with Blanca and whatever. Come on, just die already, you're delaying the inevitable, you're draining my lives, and you're being a pain in my freaking ass. Nice environment design, though, with the castle in the background, though. Like, again, really nice progression. Makes me smile. There we go, finally. Holy fucking knob jockeys. Stage 6 is complete, but we're losing lives. How will we survive the next onslaught for the next 4 minutes? Well, I guess we'll just have to find out, and I might as well go back on a previous talking point. in terms of more story-focused Streets of Rage, because again, talking about the story, like in terms of how Adam was kidnapped and Eddie pretty much came towards the Streets of Rage gang, pretty much in tears actually, that his brother was, tore apart, his brother was gone and they had their house torn apart just to, find him and anything that happened to Adam. Yeah, like that sort of thing seems ripe for a lot of emotional drama in terms of cutscenes and shit. Which, I mean, again, does kind of make me wonder why we never got any sort of, like, maybe not necessarily a remake, but maybe, like, more story-focused Streets of Rage sort of game, as the years rolled on. I don't know, it's kind of one of those weird things about Sega, where, again, like, I mean, they have specific franchises, but, like, when it came to stuff like, Shinobi on PS2, or, one of the fighting games they had on the Xbox, like, I mean, a lot of them seem like they'd be prime, opportunities to put, Streets of Rage, or, any other sort of franchises in, but at the same time, Sega never really did that. They usually either hid it behind franchise reboots that didn't do very well, like, Shinobi and Nightshade on the PlayStation 2, or they just, used a completely different franchise, which, I mean, I suppose you can commend them for continuing to experiment with new IPs and new ideas without being tied down to continuity, but at the same time, though, if you've got iconic franchises, why not promote them a bit more? I mean, this is a practice that they have rectified these days, in more recent years, since we got, stuff like Streets of Rage 4, the new Alex Kidd, Miracle World remake, stuff like that. So again, Sega are utilizing their franchises. It's just kind of a shame they didn't do it when they were still... Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say relevant, but at the very least when they were, really kind of pushing... like, some of the limitations that you wouldn't have had, back in the PS2 days, mainly in terms of, balancing budget, graphics, resources, story, and all that kind of stuff, because, I mean, the only franchise they really tended to continue besides some of the obvious was Yakuza, and even in that case, that was pretty much Shenmue with, well, more cartoony, well, I wouldn't say cartoony, but basically just more exaggerated elements. I don't know, it's a bit of a shame, really, but I am glad to see that they're finally doing more with their franchises, even if slightly. Now, if only we can move past the Mega Drive era and maybe get a few bits of Sega Saturn love. Oh, well, I mean, I suppose that's probably where I come in with the Saturn version of Resident Evil and, whatever else. Anyway, to talk about the level more in detail, machinery parts. Seems like they may be constructing some, robots. I wonder where he got the technology. It says here, Dr. Eggman. Could there be an Ankman connection here? Well, no, because there is no connection between Streets of Rage and Soink the Hedgehog. Then again, I guess maybe he stole it from the government or the eSwap program. Very interesting, but yeah. We're not going to be finishing the stage this part because I want to save part 3 for, well, the action ice elements. Because, yeah, what's coming up in the next video is by far my favourite soundtrack in the game and a much better elevator sequence than what you would have seen, well, back in the baseball stadium. Although we do still have a few more annoying enemies to take care of, so as soon as we're done with that, then we can begin. And we're kind of put between a rock and a hard place between fucking Valhalla over there and Ryo Hayabusa, which is one of their voice clips. And I might be saying a different Japanese word, but it sounds like Ryo Hayabusa to me. So on that note, I am Solidus-Skully, and next time in the Streets of Rage 2 commentary, we're going to take the fight to Mr. X and rescue Adam. Catch you next time.